It's been 1 month since the Vikings played in the championship game and since we put out our last episode. And we're back today with a very special guest. It's head coach Chris Calaycay. Welcome.
Good to be here.
And it's time to look back at the season 2025 and at all the good things that happened and maybe take a critical look at the things that need to be improved this year. So let's dive right in. Chris, you led the Vienna Vikings to the championship game 2025, only to come up short against Stuttgart Surge. What's your emotional takeaway from this game a month after it was played?
A lot of emotions. But I think the biggest thing is that you take a perspective of why you do this. When you look back at the season and the players and the faces and the fans and all that, it's a special journey that you go on together. The hard work that you put in and why you really do it. It's that excitement of winning it or the disappointment of losing. That's what makes it all worth it. So from an emotional standpoint, yeah, you got to be able to take the good with the bad. You know, if winning was easy, everybody would do it. So it's that effect of where am I at? How am I going to get better? What does the future look like? And what can I learn from the past?
So you reflected in this past couple of weeks. You're still in the game. You still want to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, I love what I do and I love the guys and the people that I work with. And I love to grow this game here in Europe because I think you get to see how much we can take the sport to the next level in the future. And this generation right now is doing that. And it's pioneering and it's really cool to see.
And it's cool to be a part of it. And talking football now, in preparing for the final, you spoke about focusing on red zone efficiency, on special teams, and on ball security rather than spectacle. Can you unpack that mindset and how it shaped your week of preparation before the game?
Well, I think in football, you want to compartmentalize things, not make it bigger than what it is because, my message to the team is, it's an American football field. There's 2 end zones and there's 100 yards and there's hashes and goalposts. We need to focus on the football aspect of things. And an importance of winning big games is obviously your special teams play and turnovers and making sure that you're efficient in the red zone and on third down. And we did some of those things really well. We didn't succeed on some of those things. And that's the focus of the game when you go in and really just try to narrow it down to the football aspects of it and not say, okay, there's 40,000 people. We're playing in Stuttgart. We're going to be on TV and there's going to be a camera flying over your head, which was really cool. But getting away from those types of distractions and focusing on what we do well.
That's what you told them before the game and then after the game. In your comments, you noted there were missed conversions, sacks allowed, and the inability to score in the second half. How do you process those coaching points now? Pretty much, 1 month after.
Yeah, I know. Right after the game, you have this feeling of, okay, what can I evaluate in this moment, in this interview? And then you look back and watch the film and watch the tape and really try to dissect things. Was it a scheme aspect that we weren't efficient at? Was it the other team is good and have good coaches as well? Was the stadium factor? And there's all these little things that go into it. But the fact of the matter is that they pressured us well. We had too much pressure on our quarterback. We didn't convert on some third downs. And we weren't efficient enough in that second half in order to put points on the board. We had moments, and it was really an interesting game. I mean, now that I can step back from it and you look at that 17-7 lead we had early in the first quarter, and then coming out of halftime, they had one play in the third quarter, took them all the way down and made it 17-17 early in the third quarter. And it stayed 17-17. And we didn't get the ball back until like 48 seconds left on the clock when Stuttgart scored their final touchdown. So very close game, very tactical game. And it was an exciting game for the fans. And unfortunately for the Vienna fans and for us, it was one that we have to learn from.
And you just mentioned it, that strong pass rush that Stuttgart had. You did admit also that the offense line struggled in hindsight. What choices that you made personnel-wise, scheme-wise, protection-wise would you revisit now?
Well, I mean, the atmosphere was electric. And it was very different from the previous year when we were in Duisburg. It was very loud there, but on the field you could hear a little bit better. In Stuttgart, it was extremely loud and you couldn't hear on the field. So our silent count, I do think that Stuttgart did a good job. They have great players. There's no question about that. They did take advantage of that pass rush and being able to time our silent count a little bit. We had too many penalties. We got ourselves, and that was an accumulation of things. It was jumping offsides a little bit too early a couple times, or getting off the ball too late a couple times. I got a good jump on the snap count. So those things in combination caused for some situations where Ben didn't have a whole lot of time.
You just mentioned the atmosphere. You said it was different than last year. Did you think, in hindsight, that Stuttgart had some kind of advantage because they were playing in Stuttgart?
I mean, I think anytime you're playing at home, there's an advantage there from a mental standpoint. It
wasn't a home game per se, but
I mean, it was in Stuttgart. So
yeah, even though we said it's not a home game.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was the final, and we understood it could be anybody in that final at the beginning of the season.
It played out well for them.
And it did play out well, and they did a good job, and they took advantage of it. So, there's no excuses or anything like that. But,
of course not.
It obviously makes life a little bit harder when you're dealing with the noise. It is an advantage for the defense, but that's football, and that's the things that you go in, and we knew that, and we needed to prepare better for it.
And yeah, as we said, you've been in quite a few championship games. You've been the head coach for this Vienna Vikings team from the start. For everyone who isn't familiar with you as a person, I suggest to listen to our episode that we did in season 1. It was episode number 5, where you talk about your path in football and what shaped you and your general coaching approach that has historically worked out very well. And you've overseen dominant regular seasons before. You had 12-0 seasons, a couple of conference championships. Was this season where you went 11-1 in the regular season and again won the conference championship? Was it any different in terms of challenges and lessons than the years before?
I think every year is different. You have different personnel, different teams, different players on your roster, different coaches. So that was makes it fun. It's not always the same thing every year. But looking back on this year, very, very challenging year. I thought our schedule was tougher. I thought Paris was an extremely good team that we played, going on the road to Rhine early in the season, some of those challenges. And then also dealing with injuries. Each of those challenges presents its own unique take on the season. And looking back on it, we can really look to the end of the season, that Paris game where, it really came down to that last drive and we needed 8 points and we had to drive the entire field under 2 minutes. We did that. We had to get the 2-point conversion and then we had to get a stop on 4th down and defense came through with the stop. So when you look back and say, okay, we lost 2 games in the year and we won the rest of them. Those 2 games, I really feel like it was the Rhine game at home. I really feel like we could have came out of both of those games ahead. So from that standpoint, very positive that we had control of what we should have done on the football field the entire season. In some instances, we got it done. And others, we came up a little bit short, but a challenging season nonetheless, but a very successful one.
And that Paris game you mentioned was probably everyone's favorite game. That was down to the last second, extremely thrilling.
There was some great football being played at the end of the season. Our home semifinal versus Nordic Storm was also a very good game.
Great
so
game.
That Paris, Nordic, Stuttgart was really the best games of the year at the end of the year. So it was very exciting for all of our fans.
Was there a lot, and if so, in-season adjustments that you make that felt like they had the biggest or a very positive impact when it comes to offense, defense, special teams?
Well, I think the adjustments that you make, they come in waves. One of the biggest adjustments was the Paris away game. We had 5 DBs go down, 4 of which were lost for the season. And we got down to 4 DBs and we're a 5 DB nickel defense. So we had to put that extra linebacker out there for the nickel position, and Leo Gerner came in and sealed the game with a game-winning interception at the end. those types of adjustments. And then what do you do the week after and the roster moves that you have to make before signing deadline. All of those things, I thought our coaching staff and our management staff and did a great job of continuing to do that. We had to make adjustments on offense and defense throughout the season. And just being consistent is very hard. It's hard to win a lot of games in a row. I think you see that it's very rare for a team to go undefeated throughout a season.
Absolutely, yeah.
So being consistent was really good for us this year.
And the adjustments that you made obviously were the right choices. Let's also have a look at players and player development. You just mentioned a couple of players that really stood out. Which players, import or homegrown, had their most breakout year in this season?
Wow. Breakout year. It's not going to be a flashy answer here. But I really would say Clemens Valtz. We've had an import at center for the last 3 years in Matthew Daltrey, and kind of a favorite of the Vikings and one of my favorites. And Clemens came in this year as a starter.
Shout out Matthew.
Shout out Matthew. But Clemens stepped in and did an incredible job, not just from a playing standpoint, but leading that offensive line. Center is so important, making sure you're getting the mic call and sliding the protection the right way. He had a great season with that group of guys. I mean, it was really, really cool to see. I know that's not a flashy answer to say the center. Everybody wants a breakout guy. But I think Johannes Schutz would be another one on the offensive side.
Yes.
And, he was called upon when Kari went down and really carried the load for us in a section of the season before he got hurt. But we didn't know what Johannes was going to do moving from receiver to running back. And I thought he did an outstanding job. And then obviously he had an injury, and then Flo Vagan stepped in and was Flo Vagan, and Kari came back. And so, this rotation of guys, I don't know if you could say there's one breakout player, but I mean, you had to notice Lucky Okpavoen on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he was just so dynamic coming back in his first year coming back. We have so many great playmakers on that side of the ball as well. But if you wanted to say breakout, you could. Lucky was pretty dang good, and in my mind, one of the best defensive, if not the best defensive player in the league.
I can second that. I've seen him play, and it was incredible this year. And another very interesting move you made, roster-wise, is you brought in Stefan Meyerhofer, a former Austrian soccer star, as a kicker in 2025. How did that experiment go, and what did you learn from immigrating someone from such a non-traditional American football background into your roster?
Well, number one, you don't judge people by the cover, as to say. You don't do that. You let him come in and work. And I think what we learned from that is that competition works, because I do think his presence made the other kickers realize, oh, okay, competition's on. And Oscar Hertz and Dennis Tosic continue, and they outperformed what they did the year before. I saw that with Oscar and his touchbacks. He had many more touchbacks than he had the year before on his kickoff role. Dennis had a better field goal and PAT percentage. So I think you start putting that competition. It doesn't matter what position group it is in. You make each other better, and I think that's the main lesson you learn from that. But Stefan, really surprised how he integrated. You don't know what you're going to get when you're taking a superstar from Austria soccer scene and putting him into American football. He had a learning process to go through as well, and he got some opportunities. And hope he goes out and works hard and gets better at it.
Yeah, and he was a very cool guy. He was at the facility a lot during practices. Always said hi to everyone. Soccer star. Maybe yes, but he was a super chill and down-to-earth guy and did integrate himself well in the team.
Absolutely.
After building and leading this team together with the franchise owner, Robin, all season, after the game, what was the first thing you said when you got together after the game, maybe in the huddle or in the sideline?
Honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, I can't remember exactly what was said, but obviously there's disappointment on both sides, and it should be. We're two highly competitive guys, and we want the most out of what we're doing and what we work for. I think that's with anybody who wants to win a championship. And when you come so close to that, and you don't, there's that level of disappointment. But I think we both know whenever we get together, we can talk through things and really focus on, hey, what did we do good? What did we do bad? Where are we going to go in the future? And where, and as Robin says, where's that 1% that we need to get better? And we gotta fly home together, and we gotta meet after the flight and talk a little bit. But all those things between he and I, those are things that we want to make sure in direction of what's the next step for us. It's so interesting. As soon as the game was over, my mind is already clicking to how am I going to get better from that experience that I just had. And it takes time, but we formulated a plan. We're forming a plan, and we're going to attack it.
And I guess he feels the same way. Great minds think alike.
Yes, we have a good team relationship, and we're going to continue to do that.
And in a season like that, where the margin between winning a championship and coming up short is so thin, how do you help your players cope with the last game pressure and the big game pressure?
I mean, coping with the last game pressure is really just approaching it as you would the entire season, not making it more than it is. And I think I spoke a little bit on that before, but, going into the game, you got to focus on your job, obviously. You got to focus on the 1-0 and not focus on the fans or the trip and those are hard things to do.
With 40,000 people.
40,000 people, but in different locker rooms, cool field, different atmosphere. But to get down to basics of number one, what did you practice, and then execute that on the football field on that day. So you try to do those coping mechanisms, and everybody goes through their own journey when they're preparing for a game. Yes, we came up short. I do believe that was a very good football team. I do believe that we had our opportunities to win that football game. And if I'd like to do it again, there's maybe some things that I could change in order to get that extra 8 points before the end of the game. But it is what it is, and we got to learn from it and move on. We can still, look back and say, hey, we did an amazing job this season, but we're always going to continue to strive to do more.
Is that what you told your players in the huddle after the game?
Number one thing I told them was that I was proud to work with them. I was proud of the work that they put in. There's a lot of emotions in a huddle right after the game. Some guys are angry, some guys are upset. And we're all feeling these things because we invest so much time into it. And we're still at that stage in professionalism in Austria and in Europe that, guys are still doing other things outside. It's just not, football is not just their only profession, where they invest so much time and time away from the family. So when we get in there and into those locker rooms, into those practices, you can, they're doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it for their team. And then when you look at their eyes at the end of a game in a huddle like that, it's tough. But I'm proud of all those guys, proud of my coaching staff and the support staff that we have and our ownership. And we can all be proud, all of our fans, to be Vikings and support this franchise.
Absolutely. And you're obviously, as a head coach, the leader of this whole team. But there's others too in the players. What leadership voices, in your opinion, stood out this year? Captains, position leaders, or maybe just other players that surprisingly took on responsibility and helped others?
Well, I mean, you got to look at your captains first. They're voted on by their teammates, and if you look at our defensive captains and Elmarie and Ben Straight, and they're amazing football players, but they're amazing people as well. They do things the right way. They bought into the Vikings culture and philosophy, and in Ben's case and Elmarie's, they're the founders of it through the ELF, coming up with what we do and how we do things on the defensive side of the ball. The leadership case on the offensive side, obviously we had Holub and Ben Holmes, and Luki Holub's still a young guy. But he did an amazing job in his first captaincy season, and he's a great one for us. And obviously Ben Holmes, your quarterback. He's the guy that delivers things for everybody, and he's the guy that gets guys fired up and making sure guys are on point. But there's all sorts of small leadership roles that go around, whether that's a guy picking up after a practice, a guy helping in pack bags or do whatever for their teammates.
Small things, yeah.
Small things go a long ways, and I think as a family and as a team, I think all our guys recognize that. And we have a lot of that going on in the team. So it's not just a couple guys, it's a lot of guys in the team doing those leadership things.
And with your own leadership approach, is there anything that you would change looking back on this season, or something about your philosophy that you're like, okay, maybe I'll try something new next year?
Well, I'm always going to try something new, but I'm not going to change the philosophy of what we do. I think the culture and the core beliefs that we have as Vikings have led us to where we're at, and the consistency. And that's a very important thing, is that some teams can go out and win one year, but where are they a few years down the road? I think if we do our core values and philosophy, we're going to be successful each and every year and give ourselves opportunities to get back to a championship game and then win that thing.
And to go ahead from now, looking ahead, there's a new chance to go all the way and to win it all. Given what you've learned from 2025, what are your top priorities to close these tiny gaps and margins to return to the top?
Well, number one, we got to turn the page and be able to reflect on what we did, but we have to turn the page and say, hey, it's a new season. And these small things are going from preparation to off-season program to recruiting to our roster build out, coaching staff build out. All of these little details need to be done step by step in the progress of taking that next step forward. And that's an off-season program. That's the beginning of the hard work. We haven't got up to the field yet. We have a lot of things to do.
And what are your top priorities when you say off-season? What do you start with?
We always start with the homegrown guys. I mean, our Austrians are amazing. They represent Austrian football. They're going to be doing that at the national team coming up here against Germany as well. But those guys are the foundation of your roster. And then you obviously got to get new pieces in place, and then you got to get your Americans in place and their E's in place, as well as the coaching staff. So if you're looking at that, we start with the homegrowns. And then we got to solidify really from the inside out. Our offensive line, all 5 guys started every single game last year. They're very consistent. Solidifying our protection for our quarterback, getting better, obviously, at what we do. And then being able to pressure the quarterback on the other side. You start there. You start from the inside and then work out. But we have such consistent players in our program, whether that's a Ben Straight or an Elmarie Lalo, Noah Touré and Holub. We have all these guys that have been here for a long time and are going to continue to be here for a long time. So we're way ahead of the curve as far as our franchise goes.
You're also already building again for the next season, as you said. And I think Leonard mentioned in his episode that as soon as the championship game is played, you start building the roster of next year. And he said in 2024, there were only 3 players on the roster. Starting with the offseason, this year you already have a little bit of a head start because there's players that have contracts for multiple years, I guess. So where would you say are you at this point of the offseason?
35.
35?
Yeah.
That's good. That's very good.
I know the exact number. No, we're doing very well in our recruiting phase, and we're going to continue to do that and build that out. But like I said, it's a process. It's getting one guy at a time, and it does take a long time. I mean, we're 4 weeks out. I do individual meetings post season with every single individual player.
The exit meetings.
And you say exit meetings, but they're review meetings. Getting their input, them hearing my feedback as well. Constructive, saying how can we get better? What could we do better? What did we do great? Because we did a lot of great things. That takes a lot of time. And we're continuing to do that, and we should be pretty much finished this week.
Wow. Okay. So are there specific roster positions or skill sets that you want to target and improve at the moment?
Improve always, but that also means improving that individual player. Whether that's helping them in their strength and conditioning program in the off season or the recovery from an injury. We can make lots of little improvements with the guys that we have, and then also bringing somebody new in that will add something to this football team. But it starts with, the core of what we do and our principles. Those aren't going to change, but we'll add different players in there that fit into what we do.
And are there specific goals that you can already name that you set for the next season, maybe culture-wise or performance-wise?
Well, I mean, it's real easy. 1-0 is been our motto since we entered this league, and that's not going to change. there's going to be certain things that I would like to get better at as a coach. There's going to be certain things that we're going to set out there, but always the goal is going to be to win the championship. Always is the goal to win that week. Always is the goal to win our conference. Being able to play a home playoff game for our fans. Those are going to be a lot of the goals that we have in place. But, another one is just to have fun doing what we do because, winning's fun. I get that. The enjoyment of being with your teammates on the field for practice every night, that's great. And, we have the best sport in the world. And because so many different people get to come together. So we're going to enjoy that as well. So that's a huge goal, is continue the Vikings culture.
That's a good goal to have. Enjoy it along the ride. You just mentioned the football fans. Football would be nothing without the fans. How much did the fan support at home or away factor into performance this past season? Can you maybe recall a particular moment where you were like, wow?
Well, both those the Paris game and the Nordic Storm game at the end of the season, the fans helped us out. There's no question about that. Those close games where it's so loud and that atmosphere and when the fans get behind you and support your defense, because that makes all the difference in the world. And, that's why there's called the 12th man for the Seattle Seahawks or, these stadiums get so loud. It's because those fans make a difference on the football field. The decibel level and you can't hear out there. You get a couple offsides, get them in second and long. That's good for the defense. So, that helps a ton.
Did you notice any feedback that you got off the field or maybe on social media or in personal conversation with fans that you took into consideration, or do you just shut off the voices during the season?
Well, I mean, you try to focus on what you need to do, but, being the head coach and the things that I noticed was the merchandise. I was in Billa, walking around in Biedermannsdorf and, someone comes up, hey, coach, how you doing? And, you see more merchandise out there with the Vikings. It's been a growth process and, you do see those things and you do recognize those things. So, when kids are coming up and saying to my son at school, hey, can we go to your dad's game? That's pretty cool. And I do believe that we're continuing to get more outreach out there. To the Vienna fan base and the Vienna community, and then stepping out of that fan base and getting into new ones.
Bases, yeah. Well, the off season is long. What advice would you give to football fans to pass the time during these few months?
Well, I mean, I'm a big NFL fan. I'm a big college football fan. You can always go to the courtyard for our watch parties
every Sunday.
I like to sit on my couch sometimes and put the all 22 view on Game Pass, more from a schematic standpoint. And then sometimes I just like watching the broadcast and hear Troy Aikman and Joe Buck talk about things that sometimes aren't correct. But yeah, fantasy football is always out there for anyone. But going and eating a burger with your buddies or your teammates or your family or your girlfriend or whatever. That can be a great time for watching.
So maybe we'll be seeing you at the Marriott on Sunday.
I was there last week. Yeah. Got to watch the Colts play. Got to watch Bernhard Raimann play on the big screens and got to have a burger. So that was a good night.
Yeah, maybe someone will see you cheer for the Seahawks there. Spoiler alert. The last episode was a month ago and we still have our giveaway to do. We were giving away a Vikings gin, special edition, purple gin, very tasty. The question was, how many interceptions did Amani Dennis catch in the regular season 2025? The answer was
4.
As a head coach, of course, you know all your player stats. 4 was the correct answer.
He had, but that was regular season.
Regular season, yeah.
Yeah, he had a couple in the
yes, I think he had 5, but regular season was 4. And now we draw the name of the winner. Who knew the correct answer.
Do I get to read this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have Marcus Meyerhofer. Congratulations,
Meyerhofer.
Marcus.
Maybe related to Stefan Meyerhofer, who knows?
I don't know if the spelling's the same, but it could be.
Congratulations, Marcus. I will reach out to you per email. And also this episode, we're going to do a little giveaway. We just mentioned it, the Vienna Vikings watch party at the Courtyard by Marriott every Sunday. There is a very tasty menu and good drinks, and we're giving away free wings for a watch party of choice in the next couple of weeks. This is going to be every Sunday during the NFL season. And to win the free wings, you only have to do one thing. That is answer the question.
What is my favorite football team in the NFL?
What is Coach Calaycay's favorite NFL team? Answers to podcast@viennavikings.com. And hopefully we'll see you eating some wings at the Vienna Vikings watch party one of these Sundays.
See you there.
Thank you for your time, Chris. Once again, second time on the podcast, but I think we could probably ask you a million questions. There's so much
We'll do it
to
again.
know. Absolutely. And we're very excited to see what the next season brings.
See you there.
Yes. And I will see you in a month for the next episode with the next guest. And until then, Bussi Baba and thanks for listening.
Vienna calling. Na, 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 na. Move it!